everyone, my name is Nuria and this is my swim journey, and for today's video we're going to close the trousers chapter by making a summary of absolutely everything I've been talking about these days. I'm going to be talking about the main wards, the foundations, the leg lines, the waistbands, everything that you need to know. Before going into too much depth about trousers, there's some words we need to know. This is the crotch area, that's where the leg separation happens, is that point where it happens, and it's where the back of your pattern and the front of your pattern are going to meet. Then we have the crotch depth, which is basically you draw a horizontal line from your waistline and you draw a horizontal line from where your crotch point is. And it's the distance between your waistline and your crotch line. Then we have your crotch extension, which is from your hip line, the horizontal measurement until where your crotch point is, which is going to be different for the front and for the back. Normally the back one is longer and the front one is shorter. And finally we have the crotch length, which is the measurement that goes from the top of your front waist all around your body between your legs until your back waistline. Once you know these words, everything gets easier, trust me. Now, for the trousers, we have two parts of the trousers. On one side, we have the foundation, which is the part that is going to shape your buttocks and shape your abdomen and is gonna hug your body. And that's going to give you more or less bagginess. And then the next one is the leg lines, which is the rest of the shape of your pants. And it's going to be measured normally around your upper thigh until your ankle line. And that's going to be your leg lines. If we start with the foundations, we have 4 different foundations and we've been talking about them a lot. We have the culottes, the trousers, the slacks, and the jeans. Each of these foundations is going to hug your body differently. If we take the culottes, for example, the culottes was kind of the first pants that were ever created because it was back in the time where women used to wear skirts and they wanted something more comfortable, but they still had to have the shape of the skirts. So they came up with these huge trousers that look like a skirt but are actually nicer. They are trousers. They are nicer because they have this leg separation, which gives you better mobility. And this pattern normally has the longest crotch depth and the longest crotch length and the longest crotch extension. It has the most of everything. The foundations are characterized by how much ease there's around your upper thigh, and the culotte is the one that has the most ease, which is around 15 centimeters. The next foundation is the trouser foundation, which is a little bit tighter to your body than the culotte version, and this one is supposed to hang straight from your abdomen and from your buttocks, while the culotte normally hangs away from those, so it's more of an A shape, and the trouser is more of a straight shape. It still has a pretty long crotch depth, it still has a nice and long crotch length and a comfortable crotch extension. And around the upper thigh, it should have more or less 9 centimeters ease. The next foundation is the slack foundation. You might know it by chinos, that's how some people call it. And this foundation is again tighter, and it's like the trouser foundation, but this time it goes around your buttocks a little bit and it shows more the shape of your body, and the ease around your upper thigh is around 5.5 centimeters. And finally we have the jeans foundation, which is the tightest you can go. This foundation should go around your buttocks and follow the silhouette of your body all the way down, and the ease around your upper thigh for this foundation is around 2.5 centimeters. Remember that you always need to allow for ease for these patterns, because otherwise when you start moving it's too tight, unless of course your fabric is elastic. But everything I'm talking about today is taking into account that you're using your foundation for woven fabrics, which means no elasticity. I've talked about the foundations, now let's look into the leg lines. Every drafting book out there does it differently, and what I see the most is that the culottes are normally drawn by doing a straight line, and the trousers are more a tapered version, and then the slacks and the jeans are more of a slim version. But again, this is up to you. If you want to do jeans that are straight jeans, and if you want from your crotch point and your hip line to go down, you can always do that. You can do whatever you want. There's 4 different types of trousers: the slim, the tapered, the straight, and the flared. And all of them can be used for absolutely all the foundations. In some of them they're gonna be better looking, and some of them are not going to be as good looking. If we start with the slim is the one that goes around your legs, that goes smaller on your knee level, and then it goes even smaller on your ankle level. But you have 2 points where you can modify this width. The next one would be the tapered version, and in this case it's just a straight line from your crotch point and from your hip to the whatever width you want your trousers to be. So you only have one place where you can define the width. This pattern normally gives you more fabric below the buttocks, so if you want to avoid that, use the slim version instead of the tapered, but that's how the tapered looks like. Next one is a straight version, is the one I told you about, that you can just draw a straight line from your crotch or your hip down, and that's it. It should be a perpendicular line from your hip line and your waistline and all the horizontal lines, so it just goes like this. And finally you have the flared version, and this flared version I find is the most fun to use because you can add the flare wherever you want. So if you want to add the flare above your knee, or you want to add it on your knee, or if you want to add it below your knee, you can do whatever you want. And if you want to say the width of your flare is this big, or is just slightly smaller because you just want to do something very subtle but people can see it, you can play around as much as you want, and there are no specific rules of how you should do that. So just have fun. You can have a curved hem, or you can not have a curved hem. I have videos explaining how to draft all these things, so if you want to go and check them out, go ahead. But to keep it simple, you can just play around and do whatever you want. Another thing I've also talked about in this channel is about waistbands and the waistlines. And basically, when you draft your foundations, most of the books always draft it on your natural waistline, and I would advise you to do exactly the same. I've seen some books that draft it on the low waistline, but then it gets confusing on where your low waistband is and where the measurements have to be taken. So my advice is always draft your patterns on the natural waistline, and from there you can always go up and you can go down. Again, I also have another video explaining how to draft those things, so if you're interested in how to draft it, you can go ahead and check that video. For now, let's talk also about the waistbands. We have 3 types of waistbands. We have the rectangular shape, we have the curved shape, and we have the facing. The rectangular shape is the easiest to draft, but it normally gives you a little bit of a gap on your back when you sit down, mostly because our bodies are not rectangular and most of us have an arched back. To fix that gap, you have the curved waistband, which follows the shape of your trousers. I like to pattern it using your trouser foundation because I find it fits your body better than just doing a normal circumference or a random curve, but you can always draft it however you want. And finally, you have the facing, which is not a waistband technically. It's just if you don't want to show your waistband and you want to have something hidden with an invisible zipper or that you can not see it, then that's what you use. And what it is just exactly the same piece that you have for the outside of the fabric. You have it on the inside, and then that holds your trousers together. Because if you don't put interfacing on the top part of your trousers, it normally ends up sagging with time. So you don't want that. So you always have to use one of these 3 methods. There's one waistband that I haven't talked about, and this is the elastic waistband, but this is basically the straight waistband. You just add an elastic inside and there you go, you have an elastic waistband. With this you can play around if you want to do a half elastic waistband or you want to do a full one or a nothing. Whatever you prefer, you can do it. That's the fun of the trousers, that you can do whatever you want. And one last thing I want to talk about is darts, because each of the foundations in each book out there comes with different theories. So what I mostly see is that for the culottes you get 2 darts on the front and on the back. For the trousers you get 2 on the back and 1 on the front, and for the slacks you get 1 on the back and 1 on the front, and for the jeans you get 0 on the front and 1 on the back. To be honest, this will always depend on your body, and do not listen to what they tell you have to do for these standard measurements. As you know, I'm against standard measurements. So what I would advise you is to look into exactly what you want. The basic rules here are a dart can be maximum 3 centimeters wide. If it's bigger than that, if it's 4 centimeters, then you have to divide it by 2. So you would have 2 darts of 2 centimeters each. Or if you have 6 centimeters dart, then you would have 2 of 3 centimeters. And then every time you reach 3 centimeters, you divide it by 2 again and you add 1 dart. When is that going to happen? If, for example, you have small waist and big hips, you're going to have a big difference there. So that means you're going to need more shaping, because what darts are really is just our way of creating shapes through 2D. So if you create a dart, you're going to create a little curve. If you add a bigger dart, then it's going to be even bigger. As I said, darts that are bigger are going to be creating a more pointy version, and that's not what you want. So that's why we divide it by 2. So if you have small waist and big hips, you're going to need probably 2 darts at the back. If you have a big belly, for example, you're probably going to need 2 darts at the front. But if you have a flat stomach, you probably won't need any darts at the front. Or if you have a flat buttocks, then you probably don't need 2 darts. For example, me, for my measurements, I have 0 darts at the front and 1 dart at the back. So if you draft your pattern following any instructions you see and you feel like it gives you a weird shape, first I would advise you to change the darts and then look into all the other fitting problems. But that's it, that's everything I wanted to talk about today. I hope you like this summary. I'm going to be releasing soon the instructions of how to draft the 4 different foundations, so you have it here. But if you want to check it out, I have a website where I put all this information and I update it regularly, because I also find some things that I didn't say or some things that I said wrong, and I update them there. So check it out, and I will also put some instructions for patterns that I use for myself if you want to follow them and try them out. And again, as I always say, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is _Noriamo. There I post pictures of all the things that I make. I don't sell patterns. I like to do things for free, which is not very good for myself, but I think it's good for you. But there I gather inspiration and I ask if people want to see more of this or more of that. So go ahead if you want to be part of that community. With this and the instructions, I'm going to give the trouser chapter as closed. In the future, I hope to do another video about fitting issues, but before I do that, I want to try to make these patterns for different body types, because if I only do it on my body type, there's no use to you if you are different. So have patience. I think that one is going to take long, but for now I'm going to continue with the rest of the blocks because we have more than enough with that. So I hope you stick with me. Have a nice day and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.